like and subscribe. What is the best joke you know? A priest, a rabbit, and a minister walk into a blood bank. The priest says I'm a type A. The minister says I'm a type B. The rabbit says I think I'm a typo. A Texan was on a trip to Ireland and went into one of the pubs in a town there. He crashed through the door, strutted right up to the front and proclaimed, "Now I hear you're all pretty big drinkers here. I have a challenge for any person here. I have $500 for anyone who can down 10 pints of beer in 10 minutes or less." Everyone stared at the Texan for a moment, not saying a word. Nobody stepped forward to accept the Texan's offer. One man even got up and walked out of the bar. About 15 minutes later, a man walked up to the Texan and asked if the bet is still good. It was the man who had walked out of the pub when the challenge was first proposed. The Texan said sure, and 10 pints were lined up for the Irishman. The Texan started his timer, and the man started drinking. Everybody crowded behind him as he began. He downed each of them, one after another, and only 8 minutes later, he was finished. The Texan, surprised, but not angry, handed over the cash to the man. As he did, the Texan asked the Irishman where he went for those 15 minutes. The Irishman replied, "Well gee, I had to go to the pub down the street to see if I could do it first." Two nuns were riding their bicycles through the back streets and alleys of Rome. One turns to the other and says, "I've never come this way before." The other nun says, "It's the cobblestones." A man walks into a bar with a crocodile on a leash. And the bartender says, "Whoa, you can't bring that in here." And the man says, "It's okay, my crocodile is tame, look." And he unzips his pants and proceeds to put his in the crocodile's mouth. The crocodile doesn't react. The man then says, "Anyone else want to try?" And a drunken man at the bar replies, "I'll give it a go, but I don't think I can open my mouth that wide." A Roman walks into a bar, holds up 2 fingers, and says, "5 beers please." Credit to Reddit. An American tourist is walking through a small town in Ireland. It is raining, so he thought he would stop in at a pub for a nice pint and a warm fire. He comes up to this pub and there is an old Irish guy standing outside getting absolutely soaked. What is worse is, he has a fishing pole with the line dropped into a nearby puddle. The American tourist feels really bad for the old guy and tells him to come inside to the pub and he'll buy him a drink. They are both inside, taking the first swallow of their drinks by a roaring fire. The American, wanting to make small talk with the old guy, asks, "So how many did you catch today?" The old Irish guy, now with a twinkle in his eye, replies, "Yeah, the 4th one today." On their way to get married, a young Catholic couple is involved in a fatal car accident. The couple found themselves sitting outside the pearly gates waiting for St. Peter to process them into heaven. While waiting, they began to wonder, could they possibly get married in heaven? When St. Peter showed up, they asked him. St. Peter said, "I don't know. This is the first time anyone has asked. Let me go find out," and he left. The couple sat and waited, and waited. 2 months passed, and the couple were still waiting. While waiting, they began to wonder what would happen if it didn't work out. Could you get a divorce in heaven? After yet another month, St. Peter finally returned, looking somewhat bedraggled. "Yes," he informed the couple, "you can get married in heaven." "Great," said the couple, "but we were just wondering, what if things don't work out? Could we also get a divorce in heaven?" St. Peter, red-faced with anger, slammed his clipboard onto the ground. "What's wrong?" asked the frightened couple. "Oh, come on," St. Peter shouted, "it took me 3 months to find a priest up here. Do you have any idea how long it'll take me to find a lawyer?" Eater, thanks for the award, kind stranger /s. I became the head of Old MacDonald Farm. I'm the CIO. Edit, you are all too kind. Thank you for the awards. An out-of-work actor gets a call from his agent one day. "I got you a job." It's a one-liner. "That's okay. Replies the actor, "I've been out of work for so long I'll take anything." What's the line? "Hark, I hear the cannons roar," says the agent. "I love it," says the actor. "When's the audition?" "Wednesday," says the agent. Wednesday comes and the actor arrives at the audition. He marches on stage and shouts, "Hark, I hear the cannons roar." "Brilliant," says the director, "you've got the job." The first show is at 9 o'clock, Saturday night. The actor is so excited that he goes on a major bender. He wakes up 8:30 Saturday evening and runs to the theater, continually repeating his line, "Hark, I hear the cannons roar. Hark, I hear the cannons roar." He arrives and is stopped by the bouncer. "Who the heck are you?" "I'm Hark, I hear the cannons roar," says the actor. "You're Hark, I hear the cannons roar," says the bouncer. "You're late. Get up to MacUp right now." So, the actor runs up to MacUp. "Who the heck are you?" asks the MacUp girl. "I'm Hark, I hear the cannons roar," he says. "You're late. Sit down." So she applies the MacUp. "Now, quick, get down to the stage. It's almost time to say your line." So he dashes down to the stage. "Who the heck are you?" asks the stage manager. "I'm Hark, I hear the cannons roar," he replies. "Oh, thank God. Just in time. Now get out there, the curtains are about to go up." So, the actor runs onto the stage. The curtains rise, and he sees that the house is full. Suddenly, there is an almighty bang behind him, and the bewildered actor shouts, "What the was that?" A barber in my town got busted selling drugs. Supri seen go vertical bar. I have been a customer of his for years. I did not know he was a barber. A man is being interviewed for a job. The interviewer takes a look at his resume and asks what is with this 4-year job gap. The man responds, "Oh yes, I went to Yale." The interviewer was so impressed that he shook the man's hand and told him that he was hired. The man responded, "Wow, thank you so much, I really need this job." The husband leans over and asks his wife, "Do you remember the first time we had sex together over 50 years ago? We went behind the village tavern where you leaned against the back fence, and I made love to you." "Yes," she says, "I remember it well." "Okay," he says, "how about taking a stroll around there again, and we can do it for old time's sake?" "Oh Jim, you old devil, that sounds like a crazy, but good idea." A police officer sitting in the next booth heard their conversation, and, having a chuckle to himself, he thinks to himself, "I've got to see these two old timers having sex against a fence. I'll just keep an eye on them, so there's no trouble." So he follows them. The elderly couple walks haltingly along, leaning on each other for support aided by walking sticks. Finally, they get to the back of the tavern, and make their way to the fence. The old lady lifts her skirt and the old man drops his trousers. As she leans against the fence, the old man moves in. Then suddenly they erupt into the most furious sex that the policeman has ever seen. This goes on for about 10 minutes, while both are making loud noises, and moaning and screaming. Finally, they both collapse, panting on the ground. The policeman is amazed. He thinks he has learned something about life and old age that he didn't know. After about half an hour of lying on the ground recovering, the old couple struggle to their feet and put their clothes back on. The policeman is still watching and thinks to himself, "This is truly amazing. I've got to ask them what their secret is." So, as the couple passes, he says to them, "Excuse me, but that was something else. You must have had a fantastic sex life together. Is there some sort of secret to this?" Shaking, the old man is barely able to reply. 50 years ago that wasn't an electric fence. Teacher is asking kids in the class to draw things on the blackboard that scare them. Tommy comes up to the board and draws a zigzag line. Teacher asks, "What's that, Tommy?" "Lightning," he says. Then Susie comes to the board and draws what looks like an explosion. "What's that?" asks the teacher. "Thunder," Susie replies. Finally Johnny comes up to the board and draws a dot. "What's that?" the teacher asks. Johnny replies, "A period." "What's so scary about a period?" His teacher asks. I don't know, says Johnny, but my big sister's missed 3 of them, and she's freaking out. Edit. Wow. I'm pretty sure this is my most awarded comment so far. Thanks, everyone. A German, an American and a Russian are stuck on an island. Local tribe of cannibals took them to the chief. He said that he'll give them freedom if they will succeed in 2 of his tasks. The first task was to collect 10 of the same fruit in the jungle nearby. The first to return was German. He brought 10 oranges. Then Chief orders him to stuff them in his asshole, and if German shows any emotion on his face, he'll be killed immediately. He tried to stay calm, but screamed of pain during the 3rd orange, so they killed him. The second one was Russian. He brought berries. He was doing the second task just fine, but when almost finished, he started laughing uncontrollably, failing the task, so cannibals killed him too. Then German meets Russian in heaven. Gee, you've been so close. What happened? I was doing great, felt no pain at all. But when I started to stuff 9th berry, I suddenly saw an American returning from the jungle. He had the widest smile, while carrying 10 pineapples. A man and a boy are walking through a dark forest. The boy says, I am scared. The man says, you're scared? I have to walk back alone. A man was at the bar. A strange woman in a red dress sat down beside him, put her hand on his leg, and she whispered in his ear. For $50 I'll do anything you can ask with 3 words. He thought it over. Really? Asterisk ANYTHING asterisk I ask with 3 words? She agreed. So he leaned over, handed her a $50, and whispered in her ear, paint my house. A pirate walks into a bar with a steering wheel in his pants. He goes to the bartender to order a rum, then another, then another. Finally the bartender can't take it, and asks the pirate what's up with the steering wheel. The pirate says, it's driving me nuts. 2 guys are sitting on a porch. One guy turns to his friend and says, hey, if there was a nuclear bomb heading our way, what would be the first/last thing you do? His friend replies, I'd screw anything that moved. What about you? What would you do? I'd sit really still. Why does the chicken coop only have 2 doors? If it had 4 doors it'd be a chicken sedan. Saw this on this place, but a Jewish man dies and goes to heaven. Standing in front of God, to lighten the mood God asks him to tell him a joke. The Jewish man tells him a joke about the Holocaust. God then says that wasn't very funny. To which the Jewish man says, I guess you had to be there. 2 goldfish are sitting in a tank. One turns to the other and says, I'll drive, you man the turret. 2 soldiers are in a tank. One turns to the other and says, blah blah blah. A backpacker is traveling through Ireland when it starts to rain. He decides to wait out the storm in a nearby pub. The only other person at the bar is an older man staring at his drink. After a few moments of silence the man turns to the backpacker and says in a thick Irish accent, you see this bar? I built this bar with my own bare hands. I cut down every tree and made the lumber myself. I toiled away through the wind and cold, but do they call me McGregor the bar builder? No. He continued, do you see that stone wall out there? I built that wall with my own bare hands. I found every stone and placed them just right through the rain and the mud, but do they call me McGregor the wall builder? No. Do ya see that pier out there on the lake? I built that pier with my own bare hands, driving each piling deep into ground so that it would last a lifetime. Do they call me McGregor the pier builder? No. But yeah. 1 goat. A man dies, and his wife goes to the coroner's office to discuss the funeral arrangements. The man died while wearing a very nice blue suit. She tells the coroner, my husband always wanted to be buried in a nice black suit. Can you please dress him in a black suit? The coroner said, but he's already wearing a very nice blue suit. Are you sure? Yes, it was his final request, she says. She goes home, but receives a phone call just a few minutes later from the coroner. "I think we've found the suit. Would you like to come take a look at it?" When she arrives, she sees his body is now wearing a very nice black suit. "That's perfect. How did you find one so quickly?" The coroner says, "It was easy. We had another person die today who was wearing this great black suit, so all we had to do was swap their heads." I don't have a girlfriend, but I know someone that would get really upset if they heard me say that Mitch Hedberg had the best one-liners hands down. Mickey and Minnie Mouse are in divorce court. Save the judge is taking to Mickey. "So let me get this straight. You want a divorce because Minnie is crazy?" Mickey responds, "No, I didn't say she was crazy. I said she was. I'm goofy. I like this one too. It is my username." On the top of a tall building in a large city, there was a bar. In this bar, a man was drinking heavily. He would ask the bartender for a tequila shot, then walk out to the balcony and jump off. Minutes later he would appear in the elevator, and repeat the whole process. This one guy watched this happen a number of times until curiosity got the better of him. Finally he went up to the man and asked, "Hey, you keep drinking, then jumping off the balcony. And yet, minutes later, you're back again. How do you do it?" "Well," said the other man, "the shot of tequila provides buoyancy such that when I get near the ground, I slow down and land gently. It is a lot of fun. You should try it." The guy, who was also quite drunk, thought to himself, "Hey, why not?" So he goes out to the balcony, jumps off, and seconds later he has splattered straight onto the ground, stone dead. The bartender looks over to the other guy and says, "Superman, you can be a complete asshole when you are drunk." This dude washes up on a deserted beach and meets a couple that's also stranded there. He and the wife immediately lock eyes and feel the chemistry for some genital bonding. The husband tells the stranger, "Hey man, see that tall coconut tree over there? We take turns all day climbing it to the top and seeing if any ships are approaching that could rescue us." The stranger replies, "Say no more, friend. I'll take first watch." And he swiftly climbs up the tree. After a few minutes up top he shouts out, "Hey guys. Come on. Stop. I'm down there. I can see you." The married couple, puzzled, reply, "What? We're not." "I'm." The stranger says, "Oh. My bad. It just really looks like it from up here." Over the next 3 hours, the stranger on top of the coconut tree repeats this multiple times, constantly asking the couple below to stop. "I'm." The couple, exasperated, continue to deny any "I'm." Finally, he comes down, and the husband goes up the tree for his shift. The minute he goes up, the stranger and the wife start "I'm." The husband on top of the coconut tree looks down, and thinks to himself, "God, it does look like they're I'm down there." 3 logicians walk into a bar. The bartender asks the 3 of you want a drink? The first one says, "I don't know." The second one says, "I don't know." The third one says, "Yes." A bodybuilder was admiring his body in the mirror when he noticed he was suntanned everywhere but his penis. So, he went to the beach, naked, and buried himself in the sand with only his penis sticking out. 2 elderly ladies walked by and saw this penis sticking out of the sand. One of them moved it around with her cane. She said to her friend, "There isn't any justice in this world." Her friend asked her what she meant. "When I was 20, I was curious about it. When I was 30, I enjoyed it. When I was 40, I demanded it. When I was 50, I paid for it. When I was 60, I prayed for it. When I was 70, I forgot about it. And now that I'm 80, things are growing wild, and I'm too old to squat." 3 men were standing before the pearly gates of heaven when St. Peter came to them and said, "Boys, it's closing time, so I'm going to only let one of you in. Whoever has the best death story can enter." So the first guy starts, "So I came home from work early today because I suspected my wife of cheating on me. I get to my 4th story apartment and find that my wife is butt naked on our bed, but alone. Of course I'm suspicious, and start tearing the apartment apart, looking for the dude. I looked everywhere, and was about to give up, when I see some fingers hanging on our balcony. So, I start stomping on his fingers, swearing at the dude, but he wouldn't let go. So I go get a hammer, and start smashing his dirty little sausages, until he finally lets go. I looked over the edge, hoping to find the dead, but he landed in a bush and was alive. So I threw our fridge over the balcony, which ended up killing him. I was so upset my wife was cheating on me though, I went and jumped off the balcony too, and here I am. Peter says, hey, that was pretty good. What about you? As he points to the second guy. Well, I was working out on the balcony of my 5th story apartment, when I slipped on a banana peel, and fell over the edge. I luckily was able to grab onto the ledge of the balcony below me, but I was stuck. I couldn't lift myself up, but I was hanging on for dear life. I was waiting what felt like forever, until finally someone shows up. Finally, I'm saved. But then the dude starts stomping on my fingers, and swearing at me. I wasn't going to give up that easy, though, so I hold on until he stops. Just when I think it's all over, he starts smashing my hand with a hammer. I couldn't take it and let go. Only to fall in a bush and survive. Just as I was thinking that I was the luckiest man on earth, I look up, and a fridge is falling from the sky, and now I'm here. Peter says, alright, not bad, not bad. Well, what happened to you? Pointing to the last man. The third guy says, get this. I was naked, in a fridge. A man walks into a bar with revolver saying, who the Ed my wife. Everyone is silent, and then guy in back of the bar says, mate you ain't got any bullets. Honestly best joke I've heard XD. A father and his young son were out for a walk around the neighborhood, when they came around a corner, to find 2 dogs humping. The little boy goes, Daddy, what are those 2 dogs doing? The father thought for a second, then said, well, you see son. The dog that's on top hurt its paw. And the dog on the bottom is just helping him to get back home. The little boy just shook his head and said, well isn't that typical, you go to help someone out, and end up getting Ed instead. A woman is at her dead husband's funeral. A man leans in and asks, mind if I say a word? No, go right ahead, the woman replies. The man stands, clears his throat and says, plethora and sits back down. Thanks, the widow says, that means a lot. A husband and his wife retire to a cabin off the East Coast. One day the husband tells his wife Hela's going out to fish for some fresh dinner. He sadly never returns, so she calls the local authorities. A few days later she hears a knock on the door and it is a couple of police officers. They say to her that they have bad news, good news and even better news. Woman, well let us hear the bad news, and get it out of the way. Officer, well we have found your husband, Hela's had an unfortunate accident and he drowned. Woman, oh my gosh that is terrible, how is there any good news to this? Officer, well luckily he had 10 king crabs and 12 lobsters attached to him. Woman, and how does this get any better? Officer, well we're pulling him up again tomorrow. Q. What is the difference between a chickpea and a lentil? A. I have never had a lentil on my face. A young guy applies for a job at a superstore, despite not having any sales experience. The manager agrees to try him on probationary status. After the first day, the manager approaches the kid. How many sales today? 1. That's not a very good start. How much was it for? $107,439. What? That's amazing. What happened? First I sold the guy some fish hooks, then he needed a rod and reel and a bunch of other fishing equipment. Then he needed a boat and trailer, then he needed a truck to pull the boat and trailer. Wait, the guy came in for fish hooks, and you sold him all that other stuff? No, the guy came in for tampons, and I said, dude, your weekend's screwed, you might as well go fishing. Jack asks the lifeguard can he go in the pool. The lifeguard tells him to show him how well he can swim. Jack can swim very well, and the lifeguard is impressed. Where did you learn to swim so well, Jack? Jack, when I was younger my dad threw me into a river. Wow. What was the hardest part for you? Jack, getting out of the bag. This one. https://www.google.com/amp/s/amp reddit.com/r/jokes/comments/55gon/my_favorite_joke_everyone_knows_Dave/. A guy wakes up one morning, and he hears a voice inside his head. It says, quit your job. Sell your house. Take all your money, and go to Las Vegas. He ignores the voice, but later he hears it again. Quit your job. Sell your house. Take all your money, and go to Las Vegas. He keeps trying to ignore it, but the harder he tries the more he hears it. Pretty soon he's hearing it constantly. Quit your job. Sell your house. Take all your money, and go to Las Vegas. So finally he can't stand it anymore. He decides to believe the voice. He quits his job, sells his house, puts all his money in a suitcase and flies to Las Vegas. The moment he gets off the plane the voice says, go to Caesar's Palace. He takes a cab to Caesar's Palace. The voice says, go to the roulette wheel. He makes his way back to the roulette wheel. The voice says, bet it all on red 23. He bets every cent he has on red 23. The wheel spins around. It comes up black 11. The voice says, a man decided to dig up the corpse of Beethoven as he was Beethoven's biggest fan. He dug and dug until, clank, he hit the coffin. He pried it open, only to see the corpse of Beethoven angrily erasing and ripping up his music. He glared at the man, and yelled shut the door, I'm decomposing. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.